Okay, everybody, are you ready? Give me a J!
Jay.
That's it. J Horror on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 Yay.
What?
Hello, all you fine listeners out there. 'Tis I, Insane Mike, and this is Attack of the Killer Podcast. I am your host with the most. This is episode 298, and we will be talking about a popular genre of horror known to the world over as J-horror. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, let me give you a little heads up on what this show is all about. We're a group of friends. We hang out. We talk about horror films with a topic. We talk about films within that topic. We're just hanging out. We're friends. There's going to be spoilers, so suck it. All right. Now, if you do like the show, I urge you to help support us through our very own special Patreon. The website is jointheattackers.com. There, you do way more than just donate to the show. You become part of the Attack of the Killer Podcast family that we call an attacker. Now, as an attacker, you get all kinds of perks that those normies would only dream of. You can get everything from bonus episodes to videos such as Killer Critiques and St. Mike's Women in Top 10 list, video updates. You get your own membership card, certificate, and sticker. You even get shout-outs on the show like these amazing kick-ass people.
That's right, like Timothy Lennerer, Roman Doppelfeld, Larry Watanabe, Brett Royer, Seth Key, Jessica Irish, Chris Cook, Brian Gutzel, Stefan Sitter, Brandy Moore, Andrew Moeller, Rod Hutchinson, Carmen DeHague, Abraham Moreno, Jacob Book, Andrew Bentler, Casey Kelderman, Tony Miller, Mike Clayton, Rose Talashoma, Abe Kirshner, Lisa Cavalier, Holly Barrett, Greg Diedrich, and Bill Fisher, comedian Bill Fisher. That's the list. Thanks, everybody.
There are so many perks to becoming an attacker that I can't even name them all. Well, that's not true. I can. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
You can find out for yourself by going to jointheattackers.com. Sign up, become part of the Attack of the Killer Podcast family. Again, that site is jointheattackers.com. And now it is time to introduce you to the podcast crew. He started listening to a podcast by two chemical engineers. He doesn't understand what they're talking about, but he says they give great chemistry. Jason.
Oh, welcome to Pun City, everyone. Thank you so much for listening.
Take me down to the Pun City where the
No.
He started an all-new podcast about little blood-sucking bugs. It's called TikTok. Tad.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening.
Oh, my goodness.
What?
It's getting worse every episode. I know, I meant better.
Okay, thank you. Now,
It's opposite day.
if you're wondering what else we've been watching outside of movies for the show, now you're going to know, because here's Tad with what we watched.
I don't know about you guys, but we're in mid-October. It's like prime horror time, and I unfortunately have been forced to sort of stay home and isolate, so I'm finally getting some horror checked off. But man, after it took almost we're 10 days in, pull back the curtain. But how about you guys? Have you been up to any horror watching, Jason?
Well, actually, I have seen a couple things, which is shocking, really, with the little time that I do.
How did you?
I think Michelle fell asleep with her legs on my legs, so I couldn't get up. And so, I might as well watch something since I'm trapped here. Yep.
Chew your own legs off.
And the first thing I watched is this brand new movie from Grant Singer called Reptile. Following the brutal murder of a young real estate agent, a hardened detective attempts to uncover the truth in a case where nothing is as it seems. It never is. And by doing so, dismantles the illusions in his own life. The stars Benicio del Toro and Justin Timberlake and Alicia Silverstone. That's right, one
Nice,
of her
welcome back.
girlfriends. Yep. And lots of other cool people. And it's awesome. I think it was great. I always I've never been like, I mean, okay, so I like Benicio. He's great and all, but like I've never been like, that dude's awesome. Because I
He's
feel
not your
like
favorite Del Toro.
no.
Well, no.
And like, well, and like I thought he mumbled too much through like most of his career. I don't know what it is. I just picked that and then been like, whatever. He's cool. But he was great in this. He's, that hardened
You still haven't watched Wednesday, have you?
Wednesday.
That
Netflix?
Netflix
The show.
series. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Because I thought he was great in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. But
What is he in that?
He's Gomez.
No, he's not.
No.
But who am I thinking of?
Yeah. Yeah. That's not him. I didn't want to.
Who am I thinking of?
Well, now I gotta Google it. Hold on.
Benicio is like, he played the Wolfman in the reboot.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm dumb. Go on.
Oh no! I want to see who it was.
Luis Guzman.
That's
Dang
right.
it.
Man, you weren't even close.
I was not close.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah, but he's great in this, and Justin Timberlake's really good in it, and Alicia Silverstone's really good in it. I believe it's on Netflix. It's totally good. And then I'm really excited that I watched like a real horror movie because that one's more of a crimey drama type shit that I like.
Thriller.
Yep. But this one's a horror movie, and I'm excited to watch it because it was written by a couple of pals of ours, Scott Beck and Brian Woods.
Oh,
I watched it too.
It's called The Boogeyman.
awesome. I feel really, really bad that this is the first one of their movies that I haven't seen in the theater.
Yeah,
You should.
feel bad.
You didn't,
I know.
so
Yeah,
you
but
feel bad too.
Oh, I do. But I also watched it, and this stars Sophie Thatcher. We like her from Tad's show called Yellow Jackets. Oh, wow, good job,
Yes.
Brain. And so she's in this.
All of our brains are just fried right now.
Dude, I can't even. Yeah, she's in it, and directed by Rob Savage. Yeah, I don't recognize many of those movies. Anyway,
That's Fred Savage's other brother, right?
it does star Chris Messina, who I've always really liked and wanted him to be in a lead role. So I'm glad that he is in this. And I also really like David Dashmalchia.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
I love seeing him pop up in more stuff.
Yeah, he is so fucking perfectly cast for this. I just wish there was more of those two,
Yeah.
for real. What'd you think of this, Tad?
I literally just finished it like 20 minutes ago.
Wow.
I mean, like, I was
Wow.
almost like the credits were rolling as you jumped
Okay,
on.
let's go.
Yeah, as we jumped on the podcast. Some of it was really cool. I like what's her name, Sophie.
Sophie Thatcher.
I really like her.
Yeah.
And I really felt for her family in this movie. The boogeyman himself, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but like gave me big, and I shouldn't do this, but it gave me big like Quiet Place vibes,
Okay.
like the creature from that, and maybe my brain's just going Beck and Woods.
Right.
But it had some really cool shots. The one that they sort of spoiled in the trailer with the girl who rolls like the light globe under her bed.
Oh, fuck.
That will make you fucking jump. There's a lot of great jump scenes in this. It definitely gave me Blumhouse vibes, but it's not a Blumhouse movie.
Yep, I agree with that. The Blumhouse vibes.
It has the whole like ominous green and reds and very the Insidious verse
Yep.
vibes to it. But it's not. But it's fun. I liked it. I'm glad that, because originally I think it was supposed to go straight to streaming, and it tested well enough that they decided to put it in theaters. I don't think it did great, but it did enough. So
Yeah. Oh man, I don't want to. I mean, I all the things you said, but I also didn't like it. Like, I don't know. It's
pretty
like,
generic.
That's
Was it the writing?
yeah.
Oh no.
That's why I didn't want to. I didn't know how. I'm sitting there. I'm like, no. These guys are perfect.
Oops.
There's a third writer on it too.
Oh, he's the one
Oh,
that screwed it
Blaine,
up.
he fucked it all up.
He probably came in and did the second draft and just fucked everything up.
That's probably it.
Yep.
I mean, there's no remnants of a Stephen Kingness to it. To me, not that
No.
whatever that is. Besides taking place in that one town, but Derry, I remember. Good job, Brain. Yeah, just and the Boogeyman was great. I just wish they just showed less.
Yeah.
Less was better, but and then I just was like, this dude generic. I started getting mad at it, and I'm like, dang it. This can't, like, I'm being heartbroken. I'm like, Scott and Brian, what happened? What? So I'm just bummed that I wasn't like,
They can't all be winners.
yeah. And, and we all know there's a million reasons how. There's a lot of hands that a film goes through before it gets to your eyeballs. So
Where's this at? Where can you see it?
I don't remember.
Hulu.
Hulu.
Hulu? Okay.
Yeah. But definitely check it out.
Good. I want to. I support them. So
Yeah, it looks good. It feels Blumhouse. I mean, it fits right in. It totally looks great. And the fucking jumps, it's not that it's just jump scares like you think of jump scares as a bad thing, but like the scenes with the jump scares in them are fucking creepy as fuck and like are really good. There are definitely times I'm like, I might have made a noise out loud, like really good stuff.
wasn't even here, and I guaranteed that you did.
I know it. So those were the two things that I watched.
What about you, Mike? Have you had any time?
Guys, guess what I watched? Guess what I finally watched?
What?
Pearl.
Fucking finally.
I know.
Did you love it?
I did. I really
Good.
I did really like it. I'm sitting there at one point thinking,
Is this a horror
this is
movie?
slow. Well, there's that. Yeah, is this a horror movie? But also like this is a really slow burn.
Oh.
But I'm invested. So they did a good job. Well, Ty West, I feel like he always does a good job with the slow burns as far as how my brain operates. So he has the magic touch to entertain me with slow burns. But it was great, gorgeous, beautiful movie. Holy cow. It's really, really cool looking. That scarecrow, guys, with the like human face on it,
Yeah.
was freaking me out the whole time. I was ready for that thing to like start moving and stuff, and it never did. But yeah, really good. Yeah, I don't know what else to say that you guys probably haven't already said about it, but when's that third one ever going to happen?
How about that
right?
last scene with her? That 9-minute scene, one take.
Oh my God. Yeah, how did she not like win all the actress awards just
Right.
for memorizing it alone? Let alone the fact that the performance was really compelling. Oh my gosh, yeah. Not since Nightmare Sisters have I seen somebody
All right.
do so
Just
much
ruined
dialogue
it.
in one. What?
Well, okay.
A weird comparison, but
Very.
Yeah.
not quite the compliment, but
Comparison.
Okay, but yeah, Pearl was great. Can't wait for the third one if it ever happens. So
it's filmed. It just hasn't been.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I don't know if A24's been getting like a pass from the from SAG
strike,
because
yeah.
because they're actually like obliging to all their demands. So I don't know what's going on. I thought it was supposed to come out this year,
Yeah.
and haven't seen a trailer yet. So
It's just so crazy. I mean, I know those movies were made back to back, X and Pearl, but they came out so quickly with one another, and now the third one's like just taking forever. The other thing I only got a chance to watch one other thing, but the other thing I watched was a series at least. Simon and I just wrapped up season 3 of Only Murders in the Building. We're big fans of that show. It's the Selena Gomez, Steve Martin, and Martin Short show.
it has Paul.
Paul Rudd's in this season,
Yeah,
and
what a cutie.
Dreamy.
and oh my god, Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep's in this season as well.
Dreamy.
So it was a really good season. And they've already signed on for a 4th season, which is good because there's a big ass cliffhanger at the end of the third one. It's got a great mix of Steve Martin and Martin Short style of humor, but also with really smart writing, and then a fun murder mystery with all of it as well. So if you've never seen the show, Jason, I recommend it. Although I know you're not a Martin Short guy,
No.
so yeah, probably not, but
Well,
definitely for
some-
Steve Martin.
Some journalist wrote like an op-ed about like how Martin Short wasn't funny and we needed to stop pretending he was.
Thank you. I've read
And-
that.
Bullshit.
And,
He's
like,
hilarious.
Every comedian and actor in history that has legendary status just ripped this dude to shreds. He'll probably never
believe it.
write
Good.
another article again.
Oh, I support this guy.
The Martin Short, like, it's some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen is when Martin Short and Steve Martin do talk show interviews.
Yeah, I was gonna say Conan together.
Oh, when they're
When-
oh my god.
They just rip Conan. It's so funny.
Yeah, or Martin Short just sits there and rips on Steve Martin the whole time. It's so freaking
or
funny.
it just rips on everybody on the stage.
Yeah, he's just got great timing, you know.
He does.
Anyway, that's all I watched.
How about you,
Excellent.
Tad?
I've watched quite a bit, maybe the most I've watched in a long time. I went to my annual Manhattan Shorts Film Festival viewing
Cool.
right after we recorded the last episode, and there were so many fantastic shorts. There was this one called The Family Circus, and basically, like, I'll try to keep these as short as possible because there's like a dozen of these. I'm not going to go through all of them, just my favorites. But this one is such a good concept. Basically, this drunk dude runs his car into like a moving pod. Like this family's moving in next door. He's drunk and snowy out. It's like Christmas Eve. He runs into this pod. He knows he's going to lose his license, so he goes inside the house. His brother's like, I'll take the blame. I won't lose my license because I don't have any charges against me. They call the cops. They set it all up. Him and his dad are trying to like act and play it off, but they're not being very smooth. And the cop's sort of suspecting things. He's like, "Can I come in and use the bathroom?" He comes in, and they're like, "It's 2 a.m," and he's like, just being nice. And the mom's like, "Did you want a piece of pie? You know, it's Christmas or whatever." And he sits down, and then the drunk brother comes downstairs, and he's like, "Oh man, I ran into that thing," and it just becomes super tense. Like the cop's like, "What do you mean? What's going on?" And it's very funny. Very funny situational comedy, very well acted. There was there was one called The Stupid Boy about this suicide bomber who tries to blow up this little market in this area, and this autistic boy goes up and gives him a hug right as he's about to pull the switch and stops him just with his love. It was very touching. My favorite, you guys would fucking love this one. It seemed like something I'd play at SNAF, called Voice Activated. And it's this guy who sells flowers for weddings and events, but he has a stutter. His car breaks down, so he rents a new car from like Hertz, and it turns out the car is completely voice activated, but he has a stutter. So everything fucking goes wrong. Everything that could go wrong. He's trying to find this venue, and it's like, "Where would you like to go?" And he's like, and they're like, "AAA, we're calling." And he's like, no. And they're like, "North Third." And he's like, and it just
Oh my
keeps,
goodness.
and it's so fucking frustrating to watch, but funny.
Yeah.
And eventually he figures out, like, if he with his stutter, if he just screams the thing, thinks about it for a second and screams it rather than tries to speak it, it works. So he just starts screaming at this car, and he's like, "Take me to North Third," and it's like taking you to North Third, and it's like reading an audiobook, and he's like, "Stop the audiobook." And then he gets to the venue just in time, and they're very nice, and they're like, "Very sweet, thank you so much. Your flowers are beautiful." And this woman's there, and she's like, "Do you do flowers for other events?" And he starts going on this sort of sales pitch about what they do, and he's stuttering, and everybody's sort of, it's getting tense, and he's like, we try to sell the freshest flowers, and he stops himself, and he's like, "Roses, tulips," and he's screaming at this wedding venue, and he finishes, and the woman's like, just has a sort of smile, and she's like, "Well, they're beautiful. We'll be giving you a call." Like they understood what was going on and accepted it, but it was just so funny. Situational humor of this guy, like, and the director, he introduced it. They do a little video before, and he's like, welcome to my short film. Thank you for coming. And he actually has a stutter, and he's had this problem using like Siri and using all these voice activated things. He's like, this could be a film. So it's
nice.
Yeah. So it's basically his life. Really, really fantastic. Again, that one's called Voice Activated. I recommend if there's. I'll have to see if it's online somewhere. Very good. I watched Spirit Halloween, the movie. I think it's on Shudder.
Yeah, Shudder. Yeah.
It has what's his name from Back to the Future? Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
That's about the nicest thing I can say about it.
Oh no.
It's just not my thing. It's sort of cool, but it's like it's gimmicky. It's like these kids sneak in and they hide in a Spirit Halloween to stay all night as a dare, and the animatronics come to life. But it's like it feels like a big
commercial
product.
for Spirit
Yeah,
Halloween.
a big product placement bullshit. It's probably good for like gateway horror for modern kids who all know what Spirit Halloween is, but didn't love that. I watched Totally Killer. Have you guys heard about this?
Totally.
Yes. It just came out on Prime, right?
Yes. So it has Kiernan Shipka, who's Sabrina, and she was on Mad Men.
Cool.
Yeah, she's like a teenager in modern times. Her friend is building a time machine. There's an infamous killer in their town. He's the Sweet 16 killer. This is a Blumhouse movie. And she wants to go back in time to stop him from creating this big mess. So it's like Back to the Future meets a slasher. She goes back to the 80s and tries to like prevent this slasher from even starting his reign, so that in the future because he comes back when she's, a teenager, and he was like a killer when her parents were around. And it's very fun because, obviously 80s goes back in time. Any reason to throw me back in the 80s is fun. They do the whole thing of like a modern teenager going back in the 80s and everything's not PC. And she's like, you can't just say that to people. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, people are smoking inside. She's like, you can't just smoke in here. It's like, yeah, we can. But I love that it like really takes... It does great things to me that I always hate in time travel movies, where it's like, just show them something modern, they'll believe you. So like, she's trying to be like, I'm a time traveler, and they're like, haha, yeah, right. And she pulls out her smartphone, and they're like, oh shit, you are. That's all it took, was like, look at my fucking phone. Like, look at this thing. And they're like, what the fuck is that? And she's like, this is a phone of the future. And then it's like, I love that because it's so frustrating in movies where it's like, just fucking show them something. And so it's like immediately jumps over that whole thing of like, everybody's like, you're crazy. You're not a time traveler. I loved it. But really fun. Great cast. Great killer. He has like a sort of like douchebag hot boy, like slick back hair. Like almost looks like Ryan Gosling in Drive type of look to him. The mask killer. And he wears like a leather jacket. Yeah, it's pretty fun, man. This is on, like, again, Prime for free.
Cool.
Really a lot of blast. I loved it. Very much in the vein of, Freaky and Happy Death Day. Really, really fun.
It's called what? Totally Killer?
Totally Killer.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then outside of that, I revisited some movies just because they're on in the background on Fear Fest. Like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was on. Christine was on last night. You know, it's like I have these movies in DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K, but I'll watch them with commercials in standard definition on TV.
Because I didn't
Yep.
have to do shit.
Well, that, and it's just like, I don't know, something about this
in the-
time of year
Yeah.
that it's on TV and the cuts to commercial and fucking Joe Bob's on AMC commercials. I'm like, this is like totally nostalgic.
Yeah. For sure.
So
I love it. So that's what I watched.
All right. Thanks, Tad. Now, let's get into our topic of J horror. Oh, we got some great movies for you. Jason, what's our first one for this topic?
Well, this one's actually not from Japan. Mike.
Who said anything about Japan?
Oh, okay. Gig is up. This movie, oh man, it's one of my favorites. It's from 1990, and it's called Jacob's Ladder.
Every day, Jacob Singer goes to work.
What's wrong?
It's one of those days.
And every day, he wonders what is happening to him.
Maybe it's the pressure, Jake.
They're like demons, Jess. They weren't human.
What were they, Jake?
Let me look at your hand.
You have a very strange line.
See, according to this, you're already dead.
Something's wrong, Jake. They're coming after me. I don't know who they are or what they are, but they're gonna get me, and I'm scared, Jake. I've seen them too.
Maybe the demons are real.
It's running 106 feet.
This is barbaric.
I can get rid of the demons. Who are you? I can block the ladder. Where are you taking me? Where am I?
Where do you want to go?
Home.
This is your home. You're dead.
I'm not dead.
What are you then?
I'm alive.
After returning home from the Vietnam War, veteran Jacob Singer, played by Tim Robbins, struggles to maintain his sanity. Plagued by hallucinations and flashbacks, Singer rapidly falls apart as the world and people around him morph and twist into disturbing images. His girlfriend, Jessie, played by Elizabeth Pena, and his ex-wife try to help, but to no avail. Even Singer's chiropractic friend, Lewis, played by Danny Aiello, fails to reach him as he descends into madness. This film's directed by Adrian Lin, who you would know as the director of Platoon and Angel Heart, and was nominated for an Academy Award for directing Fatal Attraction. So some super quality. I saw this movie back in high school, so really early, and back then I wasn't the intellectual, sophisticated film snob that you know today. I know, it's true. But
Got 1 out of 2.
so I watched, when I watched it then, I didn't even thinking about there being more things going on than what the movie was presenting me, and so I was hook, line, and sinker following this guy's descent, really. And so, what a fucked up movie.
Oh, God, yeah. I forgot
On the surface,
how messed up it is.
like, it is a trip. I mean, he's tripping balls. He, like I said, is a Vietnam vet, went through some shit, and is really having a hard time, and starts seeing stuff, and things just are fucked, and it's so bizarre and weird, and you start seeing people with tentacles and shit. You're like, what is the shaky head shit? Fucking nightmares for me. Hated
It's
it.
got to be one of the original shaky head
It has to be.
effects, right?
And so just even on the surface level, by the time you get to the end, I'm just like, I love this. It's so fucking weird and cool. And then, then once you dive into it and just realize all that was really going on and kind of what the movie means and just the, all the, him dealing with his mortality and yes, I mean, this is an old movie, so I'll just spoil it, but
Well,
like,
how can you talk about this movie without spoiling it? But luckily, this movie's from 1990, so if you haven't seen it by now.
Technically, this movie has an ending that, like I said, technically is one of the worst kind of endings of all time. If it's said like it was all just a dream, but if you've seen it, it's so much more than that. And I don't know, I love the depth of the writing and everything that was going on. I love now all the religious overtones and themes throughout it. I just freaking love this movie a lot. And what'd you guys think?
This was a first time watch for me.
I was wondering.
Oh, wow, cool, okay.
Always been on my list. Always thought it was intriguing, but I was like, I knew at least in my mind, I had made up that it wasn't quite a horror movie because I had seen the trailers. I'm like, okay, it's more of a psychological mind fuck. It's has military ties to it. It's PTSD. I would say this is in the vein of horror that is almost scarier than straight horror, like Super Dark Times. Where fucks. It's like, this is a literal nightmare. And for the context right now, I sort of briefly touched on it earlier. I currently have COVID, so the last 3 or 4 nights I've had horrible fever dreams. And so watching this, I'm like, I absolutely could. It's not nearly that bad, obviously, but like, goddamn, like what a relatable time to be watching it, and it's like, that's what it's like, but it's way, way worse where he's having these flashbacks and he's not sure what's real and we're not sure what's real and what he's really experiencing. But I feel like, I don't want to get too in depth into it, but like right now, a lot of people are shitting on Scorsese because he's saying like, we need more adult films again. Like, and people are like, he's just mad because he wants Marvel films gone. No, he wants like important, serious. This has not one tinge of humor to it. Like, this is a dark, serious adult movie, and we don't get many of these anymore. Like this Taxi Driver, just like that's the first one that comes to mind. But it's like, I think this is sort of what he's talking about. Is like we need like just dark, serious adult movies, and this is awesome. Like, not awesome. I mean, it's uncomfortable to watch. You absolutely feel for him. Tim Robbins, is that?
Yes.
Tim Robbins.
What
Great
a fucking performance.
Yes.
God, the whole time he is just, you're sympathetic with him, even if he's, a bad, and when you see him, I was like, Macaulay Culkin, oh shit.
Yeah,
and,
I knew you were going to love that part.
And goddamn, that's sad. And he's like laying in the bed and looking at the pictures and crying, and, he just feels, it's just all dread, man. That's like the best. It's just, he never has a moment of stillness. Like anytime something's good going for him, you're like, well, this is going to fucking end not so good. And, yeah, man, this is a heavy one, but really fucking good. Did this win like every award?
Should have, but yeah,
I
don't
didn't
think
look
so.
that part up. Yeah, this one, it was tough. It was tough, especially nowadays. I don't know how to say it other than, post Andy. Just, this guy having to, I mean, we don't all get the chance to, they say your life flashes before you die. And I don't know that we all get that, if that's even really a thing, but that's what this movie is. And just watching him come to terms with all the bad shit he's hanging on to try to, get to the good place and let go and finally, become okay with that is just, like you said, some of the heaviest shit. And I think Scorsese is not saying that we still don't need popcorn bullshit fun films. He's not saying that.
We need more of this, though.
But yeah, I want the films that like could be studied in a classroom. Like there's so much going on. There's, like I said, the depth and the writing that's more than. So
not just Oscar bait. Like
no.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with purpose. And yeah, so like you touched on the army and the testing of these chemical warfare things is a real thing that people have went through. And I watched some clips, just researching a little of just, of the MK Ultra stuff that they did do, and just how many thousands of U.S. soldiers that they really tested shit like this on, and I think they think the numbers are bigger than what has even been reported, and how people really acted. And I watched some video of people on this stuff that's come out of
Scary.
it's fucking terrifying, and so to layer this in, and it fits in this story to tell that part too, it's huge. And anyone who ever had to go to war probably, even though couldn't watch this movie, would appreciate that it's there, though. And so, Mike, you said you haven't watched it in a while.
Probably not since you and I watched it together back in the old PF house, honestly, which was also my first time viewing back then. It's a great movie. Really heavy film. Couldn't agree with you guys more. And I like it when a movie can put me into the madness. Like, I feel like I'm there with Tim Robbins through this whole thing and just looking anywhere for some bit of sanity or some relief. Yeah. And every time you start to think that, okay, I'm starting to figure this out. I'm starting to figure out where our place is and all this. And then does a 180 on you at every turn. Kind of going into it, and I don't know, maybe because I've seen it before and I know it, kind of going into this last time, it kind of felt like to me that the ending was a little more obvious than maybe the first time. And that could just because I know it and I've known it for years. But I will say this, if you are an asshole that's like, oh, I saw the ending coming from the beginning, even if you do, there is still so many moments in this movie that throws you off guard, that makes you forget that. Like even that I do know because I have seen it before. There's several moments in this movie where I end up getting lost in what's actually happening and not. So when that ending does come, it's still got that kick, it's still got that punch, and oh man. I don't know if I can think it, and I don't care what anybody says. It's a horror movie. I don't think I've ever choked up, teared up more at a horror movie than this one, especially that final scene there with his son.
Oh man,
fuck that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Macaulay Culkin's not even credited.
Oh really?
Yeah. He was like, he was so young. He
little baby
wasn't,
boy.
Yeah.
Wow, he's got lines. Like why?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they credit him?
It was the 90s.
And so, also too, just want to point out, since I did see this movie later in life than when it first came out, first time watching it was at the height of the Tenacious D, and so instantly recognized Kyle Gass in the bathtub scene.
As a neighbor.
Yep. As one of the neighbors. And then this goes back to what I was talking about on the bonus episode. It's like, so is that the connection? Because I know Jack Black and Tim Robbins has worked together a lot. And it's like, did Jack Black meet Kyle through Tim? Like, how did they all know each other? Because Tim Roth, he's in Pick of Destiny. Jack Black was in Bob Roberts, Tim Robbins' mockumentary passion project he did, that I'm actually into, just by the way.
That's true.
Yeah, and then also seeing a not burning young, but a younger Jason Alexander.
Yeah.
Totally forgot he was in this too. That was cool.
And he's a little shithead in this. And
oh yeah.
It's also got Pruitt Taylor Vince in it, who is most, I think, known for Identity, but he was also in The Devil's Candy. Constantine's got those eyeballs, those twitchy
Yep.
eyeballs.
Yep.
He's great.
Oh yeah. God, even the opening with the Vietnam stuff was
Yeah.
And
like,
and reading the trivia, I'll just spoil one, that all of that dialogue, or most of the dialogue in the Vietnam scene, was ad-libbed, like completely done right there.
Yeah.
Like, not written.
Eric LaSalle, Ving Rhames. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so that's a unified thumbs up from the podcast crew. What trivia do you have for Jacob's Ladder, Tad?
There's quite a bit, but I picked out ones I thought were interesting and sort of fit with our conversation. Actors who were allegedly interested in playing the leading role of Jacob Singer included Richard Gere, Dustin Hoffman, and Al Pacino. For the role of Jesse, director Adrian Lynn auditioned roughly 300 women, including Jennifer Lopez, Andie MacDowell, Madonna, Demi Moore, and Julia Roberts. The role eventually went to the very first person who auditioned, which was Elizabeth Pena.
Can I just say real quick, I used to have such a crush on her back in the day.
Oh, God, she's hot in this, man.
And oh, she is. You get some booby action, too, which is great.
And this is going to sound weird, but like when it's not just like a sex scene, when it's like how life is when people are hanging out and it feels real, you know, like that's even like more hot to me.
Yeah.
That's weird, but it is. This served as a major inspiration to the early games in the Silent Hill franchise.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I never...
That fucking scene where they're wheeling him down underneath the cage, like through the hallway. Fuck, that freaked me out. And going back to what you mentioned earlier, all the special effects were actually filmed live with no post-production. So how they did the shaking head effect, he simply filmed the actor waving his head around and keeping his shoulders and the rest of his body completely still at 4 frames per second, and then played it back at 24 frames per second.
Nice. Wow.
Isn't that fucking cool?
Wow. And, you know, nowadays they do that shit
In post.
CGI-wise, yeah.
But that's why it's so cool in this. That's why it doesn't look, you know,
Yeah,
hokey.
feels more natural, even though the movement is extremely unnatural.
Yeah. And that's what I have for trivia.
That's amazing. Oh, I love that stuff. Anyway, cool. All right, thanks, Tad. So let's move on to Tad. What's our next J horror film?
Our next J horror film is also not from Japan. It is Juan of the Dead.
A ver si no te dan ganas de irte remando a Miami.
Yo soy un sobreviviente. Sobreviví a Mariel, sobreviví al periodo especial y a la cosa esta que vino después. Este es el paraíso y nada lo va a cambiar.
Nota oficial. En estos días han sucedido algunas alteraciones de la disciplina social causadas por grupúsculos de disidentes pagados por el gobierno de los Estados Unidos.
Este no es un disidente.
Vampiros.
Eso no son americanos, viejo.
De verdad.
Juan de los Muertos, matamos a sus seres queridos. ¿En qué puedo servirle? Los disidentes son lentos. Por lo menos eso está a nuestro favor.
Y al parecer aguantan mucho el dolor. Parece que están drogados.
Qué bonito paisaje, ¿no?
Sí. Es una lástima que ese edificio nos tape la puesta de sol.
Do I need to say more? A group of slackers face an army of zombies. The Cuban government and media claim the living dead are descendants revolting against the government. This, you know, you see the title, you sort of get the idea of where this is going.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It has some questionable CGI. It's pretty forgettable, but some of the characters really are hilarious to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this. I mean, it's not. It is, but it isn't. The Cuban Shaun of the Dead. It's a guy who's not going anywhere in his life. Tries to take advantage of a zombie apocalypse by creating his own sort of zombie killing business. I like when he answers the phone. He's like, "We'll kill your loved ones," basically. And him and his ragtag group of weirdos go out in the streets and they kill these zombies. Outside of creative kills and crazy characters, it's pretty forgettable to me, but it's not bad. It's just not anything all that unique. What did you guys think?
I just want to throw it out there that anything I have to say about this movie should not be taken to heart at all, because I'm just going to flat out admit it that I was very distracted trying to watch this movie, and watching it with watching the subtitled version, I retained none of it. I mean, highlights here and there, but so when you're saying that it's unforgettable, Tad, it's extremely unforgettable for me. As soon as the credits were rolling, I didn't remember a goddamn thing about it. I think I agree with you though but again, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I was way too distracted to really give this movie a fair shot. But it did kind of feel like stuff we've seen before, nothing really new, kind of generic, and to my point even further on how bad of a podcaster I am when it comes to reviewing this movie, I then went back, because I had seen the trailers for years, right? I've seen the trailers. Trailers look like, oh, this looks funny. This looks like it could be fun. And, and there's fun stuff in there and funny stuff and whatnot. But I'm watching the subtitled version, and to me, it really wasn't, the humor of it wasn't landing with me at all. And then in a panic, like, oh, I need to figure out something to talk about with this movie, I watched, because I've had the DVD, I've owned the DVD forever, so I watched the dubbed version that's on the DVD. It has both subtitle and dub versions on the DVD. And I did find myself getting the humor more, which is awful to say, because it should always be the subtitled version is the purest version and not the dubbed. And I don't know if because the voices were sillier, which they are, which could be a bad thing, which most of the time is a bad thing. But I was finding myself chuckling a lot more than I did when I was watching the subtitled version. There is some cool stuff in the film. My favorite scene is where they're completely surrounded by zombies and that truck pulls up with the harpoon.
Fuck yeah.
And takes that wire and slices the truck drives around in a circle and slices the heads off of all the zombies in one swoop. That's freaking cool. So that's a highlight there, and there's a few cool moments like that. But other than that, I was a little underwhelmed on the film, and I think maybe too is watching it maybe too late, because this was originally 2011. And we've seen 1 billion zombie movies come out since 2011. So this may have been more innovative back then, but definitely kind of misses the mark now, I think.
I thought you would have loved El Primo. I would have thought he'd be your favorite character.
Help me. Which one was he?
The big guy who fainted every time.
They had to wear a blindfold. Oh, yeah. They basically used him as like a tool.
Yeah, I forgot about him. No, yeah, that stuff was funny.
Primo's sidekick. What was the character's name?
There's La China.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
That was unique and funny to me. Maybe a little overdone, like very cartoony in a way, like unbelievable, but
yeah, it's kind of what
but
I was
slingshot,
thinking too.
That's fun.
Yeah, that was cool, but again, like it's a product of the time where almost every cool kill was so CG that some of it was distracting. And then you had Juan's friend who was always like showing way too much skin for his body type, which was funny. He was sort of a loser. I liked that pair, but it's definitely Sean and Ed, from
Ed,
Shaun of the
yeah.
Dead. So it definitely felt like they were inspired pretty heavily. But it was fine. It just not something I'd probably ever watch again. And I feel like I was actually reading a review of it, and they said, where was this? Is down here. It probably helps to have a degree of familiarity with the troubled socio-political landscape of Cuba to fully appreciate certain aspects of the zombie comedy. So I have 0 degree of familiarity. So maybe some of that it was going over my head, but
Yeah, for me, I honestly thought I had seen it, and I was almost, because of the Halloween-a-Palooza Crunch, was gonna just skip it, and maybe watch a refresher or something. And but I'm like, I put it on. I was like, oh shit! Thank goodness I did, because this one I hadn't seen. I think I liked it more than you two. That's there. See, I'm the guy who likes everything.
Oh, it's about time.
But I mean, Juan, great and funny. I'm like, he's just a weird leading man.
Mhm.
The chubby friend actually was probably my favorite character out of all of them. I thought he was pretty great and funny. Lazaro. Yeah, it's a Cuban zombie movie. They tried really hard, and it's okay. Yeah, there, like you said, there's probably more political overtone than we maybe even pick up on.
Yeah.
And yeah, Kill's creative. I too did get. I can't deal with fake blood splatter nowadays.
Yeah.
CGI blood. Yeah.
I'm like, just fucking squirt blood on already.
Yeah.
Like, that's not hard. Why are we doing CGI squirting? I hate it.
I chalk it up to, laziness. I mean, I get it, right? You squirt blood all over your set, and then you got to do another take,
Well, everyone who came before them had to do it.
They fucking had to do it. You're right.
Why do I'm just
I know I'm with you. I totally agree. And practical is always better. I don't care if it is the greatest computer ever. It's HAL from 2001, Space Odyssey, doing the CGI work. Nothing reads better when it comes to flowing liquid than actual real life flowing liquid. They're never going to get that.
Every 100% of every single CGI blood splatter that's ever been on any film, we all know.
Yeah. Guess what, Hollywood? We know.
You're not
We
fooling
know.
it. We all know that it's not real. Why do we put up with it? Anyway. Yeah, no, I liked it. It was good. It's hard to get a comedy that you have to read. It's just different. It's not that it's better or worse. It's just harder for us dumb Americans to read. And
Well, at first I thought maybe it was, for me, that it was just like a cultural disconnect. Like the humor wasn't landing for me because I just don't know. But again, I'm just chalking it up as me dropping the ball on this one. Because, there's some funny stuff in there, and I should not have thought the dub was funnier, but I was definitely picking up on jokes that I did not get the first time watching the subtitled one.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just, it's all right.
All right. What kind of trivia you got for this one, Tad?
not a whole lot out there, surprisingly. I don't even remember the scene. It says the testicle scene between Lazaro and his son is not a natural occurrence. Lazaro's bits are made from plastic. What testicle scene did I miss?
I don't remember either.
Okay. The head decapitating scene was not filmed in Revolution Square, as filming there is impossible, so the square was digitally added after the sequence had been shot.
Oh, wow.
So that whole thing was,
wow,
done in post.
Whether it was good CGI or not, I just thought it was a really cool imaginative kill.
Yeah.
And a cool way of getting him out of that situation. 'Cause they are literally surrounded by zombies, and you're like, oh, there's no way they can get out of that.
I liked the scene too where they like at the beginning when they step outside and all the people are running and they're running towards us and they get the flag out and they're waving it and then they realize that they're running from something because they're just so dumb. They're like, they're all coming. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the final piece of trivia, the director has stated that the English-speaking character's unspoken plan. Are you following this? The English-speaking character that we see towards the end, their unspoken plan was to steal Grandma, the yacht Fidel Castro used to sail to Cuba from exile in Mexico, from the Museum of Revolution in Havana and use it to sail off of the island. So,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
If you followed that,
yeah, 100%.
That's what I have.
That'll help you guys when you watch it,
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time to move on to our next film. Not just our next film, but I feel like the film that is most representative of J-horror. And that is a movie from 1978, Jaws 2.
Jaws 2. The terror continues. In all the vast and unknown depths of the ocean, how could there have been only one?
Chief? Chief Brody, can we go, please?
I think we may have another shark problem. Are you serious?
Roy Scheider.
The whole beach looks incredible.
Lorraine Gary. And Murray Hamilton.
Look at this. That's a shark.
Look, Brody, you started a panic on a public beach. Now, what if somebody decides to sue us? That's a shark. Did you ever stop to think about that?
And I know what a shark looks like because I've seen one up close. And you better do something about this one because I don't intend to go through that hell again.
Don't press it this time.
Mike is out there.
None of man's fantasies of evil can compare with the reality of Jaws.
This time, the shark works. That wacky police chief Brody is back to his crazy hijinks. He pulls out all the stops out of his magic bag of tricks to protect the citizens of Amity. After yet another mischievous shark begins causing mischief in the waters. Again. Jaws 2. Yeah. I haven't watched this in a while, but there was a time where I watched this movie a lot. I think I first saw it on cable television back in my early days of first starting getting into horror movies. I remember distinctly, and I taped the whole week off. There was this amazing week I think it was like all month long or something. Like WGN was showing horror movies like once a night, and I taped off so many of them like through the month of October. And I had those tapes like forever. I might still even have some of those, but that's where I first saw the original Jaws, and they also showed Jaws 2. So many first-time movie watching that from that week on WGN. So this movie has a special place in my heart, but as an adult watching it again, I still think for the most part it still holds up, especially if you want to compare it to the rest of the franchise. After a while, you would think, okay, this is getting a bit ridiculous. There's another shark that's attacking Amity again. But this one, to me, still seems rather plausible and ups the antics a bit from the previous film. You get that amazing, my all-time favorite moment, the helicopter crunch scene where the shark attacks a helicopter that is so infamous that the Italians felt the need to rip it off several times. My only downside, and as much as I love Sheriff Brody, and I love all the character work of the original film, and how this film is trying to do a lot of that too, where it's really exploring Sheriff Brody dealing with this, and the town, and the mayor, and his wife, and all this, that, and the other thing, and his relationship with his oldest son, all this, that, and the other thing. To me, this movie has always been about, even back in the day, about those kids trapped in the middle of the water on those boats. Yeah. And I feel like the movie could have been even better if we maybe pulled back some of the Brody stuff, some of the Amityville stuff, and put a little more focus on the kids. There's that blonde girl, the cousin of so-and-so, whatever, that shows up, and that's about as much information as you get about her, even though, like, the camera focuses on her as if she's a main character, and she kind of is, because she's with, she's on the boat, and she's one of them that's, like, really trapped, and with the younger brother on the boat and everything. But you don't get enough development out of any of these kids really to care. Even Mike, the oldest son of the sheriff, doesn't get a whole lot of characterization. And if we're going to spend a good chunk of our plot on these kids trapped in the middle of the ocean, which I think is great. Yep. I like, instead of just rewriting the first movie and adding an all-new shark, let's do something a little different. Let's make it an open water situation where these people are trapped in the ocean with a shark just waiting for his turn, waiting for the dinner bell. So that's the only downfall now as an adult watching it, is I felt like we could have gotten to know these kids a little bit better, to be better investment in that storyline of the film. But other than that, I think the movie is fun. It's sorry all you Jaws Revenge fans out there, but it's the best of the sequels, and I think it still holds up. But what do you guys think?
I think Roy Schneider himself brings that credibility to it.
Yeah, he helps for sure. Yeah,
it's like Halloween 2 to me. It's like, it's not the first. It's never. There's no way they could have made it the first, but it's still really good. Like, Jaws is like God tier, so this, to do a sequel is like sacrilege. It's like, even Spielberg said it's a cheap Carney trick. But to have Roy Schneider and Lorraine Gary back, and Murray Hamilton, like most of the, those the surviving people back, and come up with a plausible way. Even Keith Gordon makes a little appearance in this. Just, to me, it still feels like it's a serious quality film. And it still has John Williams' score.
Yeah.
So I see it's like a B+, where Jaws is like an A+. You know what I mean? So, and
Absolutely.
then obviously the franchise takes a deep dive, but
I get it.
Yeah, but I still think this is a really quality film, and I really enjoy it. I don't know what else to really say. It's just it's still good. It still has. I just think that Roy Schneider is just so goddamn good. Even reading that he absolutely did not want to do this and hated every second of it does not show on screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's still giving it 110%. His performance just literally out. He's got so many like non-dialogue moments in this movie that still outshine everyone else in the film.
Yeah, and I feel like I've heard that about him not wanting to come back, and whether this is true or not, but I thought that, like, this is just me speculating, but like a term for him to come back was to give him some fucking scenes to chew on, because that first half of the movie, there's just him pondering for this and that. Like, they just don't hang that long in movies, even back then. And
like when he's on that shark tower right before he has his big freak out, I swear it's like a 10-minute scene of him. Takes off his sunglasses and he squints. He puts on the binoculars, he takes them off, he squints. He puts the binoculars back on, he turns them a bit takes it back off, he squints some more. You know, it's just like 5 minutes of him.
I truly think that it was a condition for him to come back was to give him more face time, and that's where So first off, I think this is the first time watch. I don't honestly think I've seen any of the sequels. Honestly,
we watched 3 for like a 3D episode or something, right? Yeah,
maybe.
But
we did.
Yeah,
it was the first time watch for me.
Too,
It was the first time watch for me. So you probably were going in like, oh, all the Jaws sequels are going to be awful, right?
Right. And so it was better than that. But for me, I agree with everything you're saying. I just the returning cast gives it credibility. It's still shot on film in the locations in the time, and it's there. For me, it was like 2 fucking hours. Like, cut a half hour out.
It's a bit long
of the front half,
especially on the front half. Yeah, I mean, are you on the same page as me then? Like that, maybe we needed to give more focus to those kids.
1,000,000%.
Oh, okay.
I was so sick of Roy Scheider by that. I was just like, get over it. Get on the fucking boat and get out there. Like, it was because it is more about the kids. So he loses his job because he's gone crazy. Okay. I think Bruce looks fine.
I love that scene where he's like, he comes home and he's like, congratulations on your job promotion. And the guy's like, well, I didn't want your job. And he's like, well, you got it. And he's like, he pins the badge to his shirt and he's like, it looks great on you. And I love that. Like, just a Roy Schneider thing.
Yet it changes nothing.
Yep.
Because
he just goes.
He still chases after the ambulance. He still hijacks the police boat. He's still bossing around the new sheriff. Nothing has changed for him.
Yeah, from that moment where he goes to hijack the boat to get going, it's like this movie kicks ass from here on out. Like, it was badass. I just was bogged. And you're trying to create this enemy of the new mayor or whatever guy that talks all, or whatever the rich guy was that we keep focusing on. Who gives a fuck about? Who gives a fuck about that guy and the council and all that bullshit? I just like.
Well, and that's where it's retreading on the original film too.
Maybe
it's
sequel rules weren't developed yet. Maybe by 1978, but like, I think they wanted it to be that first one, and they just couldn't. It just was never going to be, and I think that hurts it. But I mean. But we know how bad that these sequels can be, so it's somewhere in between for sure.
Yeah, the movie could have gone in 2 different directions, and neither lands it 100%. Yes, the latter half is so much more fun, but it could have been even better if we developed those characters with the kids on the boat. Or, because the movie looked like it was starting to go in this direction, too, where it's more about Sheriff Brody losing his damn mind over his own PTSD over the experience of the first movie, and what he went through with that. So they could have gone that route, but it's as if they started dipping their toes in the water, pun intended, for that storyline, and then quickly just went like, now let's put a bunch of kids on a boat and have them being attacked and trapped in the water.
And you said that John Williams' score is in this. Are you sure? Because I think I heard more of it during the trailer than I did in the movie.
Well, I had read in the trivia in here somewhere that because of the delayed filming or something, he basically had to do it super fast, and it's like, what else can you do with it?
Yeah.
I just don't know what he
His hands were pretty tied.
Right. I mean, at least with Carpenter, it's like Halloween 2, what do you do? It's like, oh, it's 78 to 81. Synthesizers are a big thing now. Let's do a synth version of the score, basically. But what the fuck do you do with Jaws? What else can you do? They should have just paid him to reuse the same damn score.
Yep. And so the score that was there, I thought was fine. I just wanted to make fun of it because it was so much less part of this film.
Yeah.
That the first one was, and made it a better film because of it. But then that also leads to the other thing I kind of hated about, not hated, but with the score was the fucking bullshit. Oh, there's Jaws. You know, like there was no build up
no
to
tension
any
build up. Yeah.
any of those shark scenes. It was just like, don't look over there. There he is. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's way more jump scares.
Yeah,
than,
I mean, as poorly as you can do it with a big fish in the water, but all those scenes just made me mad because I'm like, where's the tension build up? You know, give me a fucking buoy to watch or something, you know, give me something. And just like, nope, he's right behind you. And I'm like, and you don't get any of that music, no reason. I was like getting mad at the movie for just wasting the potential. That's all. But
it's interesting to me. The more I sit with this, and the more I think about it, the more I listen to you guys talk about it, is that again? I feel like we had an original idea with the kids trapped out in the water, but they also had a tendency to rehash a lot of stuff from the first film, even down to. What was it? The first kill where the guy is in the water and then he gets bit and then he's drugged back and forth in the water by the shark, a la the opening scene of the first movie. I mean, that struck me right there. I'm like, oh, they're doing this again. Or the Jaws is just dragging somebody through the water.
But I did love how they started it with those two divers going down and getting to see the boat.
Oh, yeah,
it was
yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, here we go.
That's cool, but then
And
they
that
do
was
nothing
just-
with it. Yeah.
And then I also I appreciated it, and we know now, like at the time we would have been mad, but now we're like, I get it. But even just referencing Hooper was nice, you know.
Yeah.
So I appreciated it, whether, you know, he couldn't be in the movie, but
It almost felt like at times, too, during that first half that everybody had forgotten what happened.
Right?
Like, nobody references it.
There is no...
And everybody thinks Brody's crazy, even though they all know what he went through.
Right, I couldn't gather how long it had been.
Well, you could maybe do that math based on how old Mike is,
Right,
the oldest son, because he's, what, late teens at this point?
Between, not telling me and then not letting anyone remember what happened, I'm like, what? It made me like, well, wait, how long has it been? If everyone doesn't seem to remember.
Yeah, they
like,
treat
what?
it like it's been like 40, 50 years, and it's like, you know, who knows, who cares anymore.
Right, this boy drowned in the lake. We just don't remember anymore. But yeah. But also pleasantly surprised that like the quality that was there. I was like, oh, I just thought they were all shit. So I'm glad that it was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's been said already many times that it goes downhill fast. They really jump the shark by the time you get to them.
With all these intended puns tonight. Gross.
Speaking of gross, Tad, what trivia do you have for this one?
There is an abundance, overwhelming amount, but I'll take a few that I thought were interesting. Many scenes had to be shot in the fall and winter months, and due to this, the actors had to suck ice cubes prior to takes to avoid having their breath seen on camera.
Oh, yeah, that tactic. Yeah.
You'd think that would, like, the numbing of the tongue would be make it hard to do your lines, but here's a little bit on Roy Schneider. He did not originally want to appear in this film, but had recently left the production of The Deer Hunter, which led to conflicts with Universal Pictures, with whom he was locked into a multi-film contract. The studio agreed to forgive his leaving of The Deer Hunter if he did this film, which they would count as the 2 remaining films on his contract with them. He agreed to the terms, but was resentful of his involvement with the onset and clashed frequently with director Jenna Schwach. Roy Schneider was so desperate to be relieved from the role that he pled insanity and went crazy in the Beverly Hills Hotel. There's a lot of trivia of just about him, how like producers brought him together with the director to try to like air it out, and he like it came to like fists, like they were like at each other's throats, like they fucking hated each other. So
stupid. It's a fucking movie. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And let's see. This is a really funny one. After reading that Jaws 2 was experiencing problems finding a director, a then 14-year-old Steven Soderbergh wrote a letter to Universal Studios pleading to direct the movie and stated he would even do it for free. Universal producer Richard Zanuck read the letter when it came in the mail and found it amusing. Decades later, after Soderbergh had become a notable filmmaker, Zanuck actually met him at a film festival and brought up the letter he wrote as a teenager, telling Steven Soderbergh, "In hindsight, knowing how Jaws 2 turned out, I probably would have accepted your offer."
Oh, fuck.
I mean, there's just there's just all kinds of crazy stuff on here. I just recommend going on here and scrolling through this stuff because it's absolutely crazy. Like, on one occasion, Roy Schneider complained in front of all the extras that the director was wasting time with technical issues that the extras while ignoring the principal actors, just calling him out on set. Just all kinds of the real shark footage used in the film is actually just leftover footage that was filmed and not used in the first movie. The rest of it, as we all know, a mechanical shark, a new one created for the sequel.
Awesome.
There was one in here that I already lost because I was trying to scroll through and find them. But basically, I never got to ride it. I'm sad. It's still at Universal Japan. But Jaws the Ride, they had a reference to this movie because the shark at the end would bite the electrical cord and shoot sparks everywhere.
Yeah.
And then you thought he was dead. Then he would be like a burnt shark at the end, come up for one last scream.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, man. I love watching the videos of that.
Yeah. Sad that that's one thing on the bucket list and I'll never get to bucket.
Fucking Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Another reason. All right. Well, that is it for our international look at J-horror. What's so funny? We had an American film. We had a Cuban film. International. Hope you all learned a thing or two, but don't worry. There's still more Attack of the Killer podcast to come. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will finish off the show with a couple of segments. But first, you're going to hear a promo for our podcast network called the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. The PFPN is home to over 30 shows, including, this little podcast called Cracktastic Plastic.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
The members of a punk rock band, X-Ray Mary, come together to talk about their other love, retro toys, focusing on G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe, and Transformers. These guys love that colorful plastic.
And they talk about movies too, right?
Heck yeah. Sometimes.
You can check out Cracktastic Plastic and all the other shows at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the show. And now we want to hear from you guys, the listeners. Here's Jason with a shout-outs.
It's time for shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, we asked, what are your favorite horror movies that have titles starting with the letter J? That's what this show's about. I get it, Mike.
What?
All right, so we got over on our Facebook page, we got attacker Emily Randolph. She says, dare I say it, Jack Frost is a must-watch for Christmas in my house, and yes, even the sequel. I love Jack Frost.
Me too.
It's so bad. Come on.
Even Joe Bob couldn't save it for me.
Didn't we do that on a commentary episode?
We did a commentary, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Dad was sick that day. Over on our Facebook group, the group edition, we got Tim Lennerer. He says, okay, Jacob's Ladder and Jaws were both massively influential and probably on lots of other people's lists, even Mike's for this show. They're both great, My favorite part of Jacob's Ladder is Tim Robbins looking bashful when teenagers on the street sing, "Please, Mr. Postman,"
Yeah.
to him while he's on the rounds. Ju-on, The Grudge, is deeply upsetting. No shit. Jugface is an out-of-nowhere folk tragedy horror. I said those words backwards. Thanks to Hubris Ween, I've seen several films that start with J. There aren't many of them. J.D.'s Revenge is a blaxploitation riff on the 1950s reincarnation nonfiction book, The Search for Bridie Murphy. All of these are well worthy of your time, but honestly, everyone should just put Jaws on the list and leave it there. J.D.'s Revenge.
J.D.'s Revenge is awesome.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I love it.
Well, that's cool. Somebody's seen something Tim's talked about.
It's a possession movie, but like a guy gets possessed by a dead pimp.
Oh, okay. Up next, we got Brian Clark. He says, are you ready for this?
Yep.
Jaws. Obviously. It's my favorite movie. Gotcha. That's cool. Brian loves mainstream horror. So then he also goes on to say, Just Before Dawn is a fun little slasher flick.
It's a great slasher flick.
Jigoku is a little slow to get moving, but the hell sequence at the end is worth waiting for. Jeepers Creepers has some ghastly associations regarding the director, but I still love the first two movies in the series.
Yeah, me too.
Agreed.
Me too.
I know no one else on the show likes it. This is true. But Jugface is good folk horror. God, I hated that movie. What? Jack Frost 2 is a sequel far superior to its progenitor.
Oh, superior?
Doesn't take much.
Come on! And then lastly, he says, Jungle Holocaust is, well, just what it sounds like. For those who can stomach Italian cannibal flicks, it's a good time. I doubt it.
Hey.
I added that part. How could that be? Okay, and then Tim's back in. He says, true fact, Just Before Dawn pinched one of its kills from The Seventh Seal. Yes, there's a horror flick that stole from Ingmar Bergman. No, a different one. Jacob McLaughlin says Jaws, obviously, but I also really liked Jacob's Wife.
Yeah, there you go.
It was nice to see both Barbara Crampton and Larry Feston being cast in lead roles that actors their age don't get as much these days, especially in the horror genre. Agreed. And Attacker Rose, she says Jacob's Wife. I honestly don't remember the movie, but it's got to do with vampires. That's true. That's all true stuff. We didn't have anything on Instagram or on Twitter, but we do have something over on Threads. That's right.
For the first time.
I know, pretty excited. 2 comments. Up first, we got Jake the Snake 1854, who is known as Jake McCoy. He says, Jason goes to hell.
Yeah.
No. God. Let's block that guy. And then lastly, we got Amateur.Destroyer, who is Jessica Schmidt, from a co-host of the Horrorcast on the PFPN. She says, Jaws is probably the most obvious. I also love Jacob's Wife from a couple years ago. Jennifer's Body is fun.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty good.
And who could ever forget Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter?
Yes!
Yes!
You okay there?
You're my new best friend. You're my new best friend.
He loves that movie.
I do love that movie. I love that director, even though I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And look at that. It's that time. Got a voicemail.
Hey, everybody, it's Hacker Brian here for my bi-weekly phone call, and it sounds like this episode we are talking movies that start with J. I mean, you can go with any number of the Jaws movies, any number of the Friday the 13th movies where they put Jason in front of the title, you know, Jason X, Jason Goes to Hell, Jason, whatever. But my picks are Just Before Dawn. 1981 for the slashers, or the campers. Jungle Holocaust from 1977. If you're hungry, you know, if you're a cannibal or you're an oil prospector. And a personal favorite in the Gottsel household that everybody loves, Jack Frost from 1997. Who doesn't love a good old-fashioned serial killer transformed into a snowman just in time for Christmas?
Me. That's who.
Watch some good movies. Let's start with Jay. And take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Godzilla. It was funny. He's like, I think, is it time for my bi-weekly drunk dial? Because I feel like he like dials the number and then looks at the question. And like
yeah, that would make
tries
sense.
to figure it out as it goes. Anyway,
Now everything makes sense.
Yeah.
I just want to give one more shout out to Just Before Dawn. It is a very underrated slasher. It's a really good flick. We'll have to do it on the show sometime. Directed by Jeff Lieberman, who directed Squirm.
Okay.
So there you go.
Well, all right. You too can leave your voicemail. Give us a call at 415-952-6857. That's 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us that voicemail. Get your voice on the show. We really appreciate all your comments every time. It's amazing. It's one of the best parts of the show is chatting with you guys. But we have one more segment to go. It's time for Insane's Picks.
I'm going to talk about a movie that is far, far removed from the horror genre, but a great cult film nonetheless. And I do mean great.
Mm-hmm.
What, you don't believe me?
No, usually.
What if I told you it was directed by a Reiner?
Oh.
Well, not Carl Reiner.
Oh.
Not Rob Reiner.
Oh, no.
Lucas Reiner.
Is he even related?
All right, fine. If that didn't convince you, what if I told you it was written by a Coppola?
Okay.
Well, not Francis.
Oh.
Not Sophia.
Dude.
Roman Coppola.
Do you even know if they're related?
I do actually.
Okay.
Roman is another son of Francis, and Lucas is another son of Carl. All right, fine. I'll just tell you what the movie is. It's 1990s comedy time travel classic, Spirit of 76. Never heard of it? Well, not surprised. Spirit of 76 is a 1990 American comedy film that satirizes the 1970s, directed by Lucas Reiner, the other son of Carl Reiner. It's got tons of great people in it, from David Cassidy, Leif Garrett, Carl and Rob Reiner show up in it. Olivia, how do you say her name? Diabo? She was the sister on Wonder Years. Also has Tommy Chong, Julie Brown, and even the rock group Devo are in this movie.
Love Devo.
By the year 2176, all recorded American history has been erased, causing such valuable documents as the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence to be lost forever. With the threat of the decline of their future society, 3 time travelers, Adam 11, played by David Cassidy, Chanel 6, played by Olivia What's-Her-Face, and Heinz 57, played by Jeff Hoyle, are sent back to July 4th, 1776 to retrieve America's heritage, but the time machine malfunctions and they end up in 1976 instead, during the United States bicentennial. While attempting to carry their mission, the time travelers dress in period costumes, i.e. tight bell-bottom pants and such. They attend... They experience the sexual revolution, pop rocks, disco, long gas lines, and so on. So it is a funny, silly, goofy romp of a film. Very, very unknown. I first discovered it because I'm a big Julie Brown fan and knowing that she's in it. But it is definitely a love letter to a much, much bygone era of the 1970s. And if you can find it, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a good time. It's pretty funny. But that is Spirit of 76 from 1990.
You love documentaries.
Documentaries?
Just kidding. Oh, that's right.
Anyway.
It sounded so real. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Anyway, that is it for this episode and our discussion of J-horror. Hope you got it. Anyway, so that wraps up this show. If you want to check more of Attack of the Killer podcast out, you don't want to have to wait 2 weeks for another episode. Well, first of all, you should become an attacker and get bonus episodes, so you get shows every single week. Again, that's jointheattackers.com. But you can also check us out on that Threads thing. Also in Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, the letter X, all of those crazy platforms. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time on Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Oh no, could this be the end of? Wow.